Welcome to Capital Catch-up, the podcast where we break down the latest moves in Congress. I'm Victor.
And I'm Leanie. Today we're diving into a slate of bills, constitutional amendment proposals, and resolutions that have been reported or introduced this week. We'll explain what each measure does, why it matters, and how it could affect everyday Americans.
Let's start with the big appropriations package for agriculture and related agencies. That's House Bill 8646, the Agriculture, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration, and Related Agency Appropriations Act for fiscal year 2027. Reported to the House on May 1st, it funds a wide range of USDA and FDA programs through September 30th, 2027.
The numbers are eye-catching. The Office of the Secretary gets $55.3 million, the Office of the Chief Economist $29.5 million, and the National Agricultural Statistics Service $187.5 million. Those funds keep the data collection and analysis that farmers rely on for planting decisions.
Beyond the administrative side, the bill earmarks $1.046 billion for the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. That's research on everything from crop genetics to sustainable farming practices. It also provides $557.1 million for extension activities. Those are the university-run programs that bring research straight to the field.
And there's $1.157 billion for the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, covering salaries and expenses. That helps protect against invasive pests and diseases, which can have a direct impact on food prices and supply chain stability.
In short, this appropriations bill is designed to keep the agricultural safety net and innovation pipeline humming, which matters to anyone who buys a grocery item or lives in a rural community.
Moving to national security, Senate Bill 4465 amends the FISA Amendments Act of 2008 to extend the authorities of Title VII of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. The original authority was set to expire on April 30, 2026, but this bill pushes the deadline to June 12, 2026.
The extension was passed with little debate, essentially keeping the existing surveillance framework in place for a few more months. While the change is modest, it underscores the ongoing need Congress sees for foreign intelligence gathering tools.
Next up is a more lighthearted but still impactful proposal, Senate Bill 4367, the Hot Rotisserie Chicken Act. It would amend the Food and Nutrition Act of 2008 to allow hot rotisserie chickens to be purchased with SNAP benefits.
The bill is still in the Committee on Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry, so no vote yet. If it passes, low-income families could use SNAP dollars for a ready-to-eat protein source, which could ease meal planning and reduce food insecurity.
Speaking of SNAP, the Farm, Food, and National Security Act of 2026, House Bill 7567, covers a broader overhaul of agricultural and nutrition programs through fiscal year 2031. Reported out of committee on April 21st, it includes reforms to the Commodity Credit Corporation, updates to SNAP, and new rural broadband, energy, and water infrastructure initiatives.
The bill also tackles forestry management, with provisions for wildfire prevention, mitigation, and landscape-scale restoration. Those measures aim to protect both rural economies and the broader public from the growing threat of wildfires.
If enacted, the act could reshape how the USDA supports farmers, conserves natural resources, and delivers nutrition assistance, potentially affecting everything from farm subsidies to the availability of fresh produce in food-insecure neighborhoods.
Shifting to health, House Bill 8651, the Advancing Safe Medications for Moms and Babies Act of 2026, was introduced on May 4th. It seeks to include pregnant and lactating women in clinical research and improve their access to safe medications.
The bill would direct the FDA to update its regulations so that clinical trials can enroll pregnant participants, fund a $5 million education campaign to raise awareness, and set up a research prioritization process at the National Institutes of Health. The goal is to close the data gap that currently leaves doctors and patients making decisions without solid evidence.
That could have a real impact on maternal health outcomes, especially as we continue to see higher rates of complications during pregnancy.
On the digital front, House Bill 8652, known as the You Own the Data Act, or YODA, also introduced on May 4th, aims to give individuals greater control over their personal data. It prohibits companies from forcing users to surrender or monetize their data in exchange for services, And it bans the collection of third-party contact information without written consent.
Covered entities would have to provide users with access to their data, the ability to correct inaccuracies, delete or de-identify it, and supply it in a portable format. The Federal Trade Commission would enforce the provisions, and individuals would have a private right of action to seek damages.
In an era of data breaches and growing concerns about privacy, YOTA could reshape how tech companies handle user information and give consumers a tangible tool to protect their digital identities.
Now let's talk about two constitutional amendment proposals that were introduced as House Joint Resolutions. First, House Joint Resolution 172, introduced May 4th, proposes to amend the 14th Amendment's Citizenship Clause. It would require that a person born in the United States have at least one parent who is a U.S. citizen, a lawful permanent resident, or an alien serving in the U.S. Armed Forces to be considered a citizen.
The amendment would need ratification by 3/4 of the states within 7 years. If adopted, it would significantly narrow birthright citizenship, a change that would have profound legal and social implications.
The Second Amendment proposal, House Joint Resolution 174, also introduced May 4th, seeks to impose an 18-year term limit on Supreme Court justices, with immediate termination for any justice who reaches that threshold, including the Chief Justice.
This is a direct response to concerns about lifetime appointments and the politicization of the court. Critics argue it could undermine judicial independence, while supporters say it would bring regular turnover and accountability.
Alongside these high-profile proposals, the House passed a joint resolution, House Joint Resolution 175, disapproving a rule from the Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection that had withdrawn a prior rule on deceptive marketing of remittance transfers. By nullifying the withdrawn rule, the resolution restores the original consumer protections against misleading speed or cost claims.
That move reinforces oversight of financial services that many immigrant families rely on for sending money abroad, ensuring they receive accurate information about fees and delivery times.
Turning to healthcare for seniors, House Bill 8662, introduced May 4th, proposes to expand Medicaid to cover assisted living services and to prioritize low-income housing tax credit projects that reduce medical assistance costs for the elderly. The amendment to the Social Security Act would make assisted living assistance a mandatory Medicaid benefit, effective January 1, 2027, with flexibility for states that need legislative changes.
If enacted, this could lower out-of-pocket costs for seniors who need supportive housing but don't qualify for nursing home-level care, potentially keeping more older adults in their communities.
The House also moved on several commemorative and recognition resolutions. House Resolution 1252 memorializes law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty, honoring the 363 officers who died in 2025, and calling for continued support, equipment, and training.
House Resolution 1253 expresses the sense of the House that public servants, federal employees, uniformed services, and others should be commended for defending the Constitution and delivering essential services that support the economy. It highlights the oath taken by millions of public workers.
Education was front and center with House Resolutions 1254 and 1255. Resolution 1254 recognizes the vital contributions of elementary and secondary teachers to the nation's civic, cultural, and economic well-being, and promotes National Teacher Appreciation Week, set for May 4, 82026. Resolution 1255 specifically supports that designation, urging policymakers to address teacher recruitment, retention, and professional development, and to give teachers a seat at the table in education policy.
Finally, House Resolution 1257 supports designating May 5, 2026 as the National Day of Awareness for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. The resolution cites stark statistics. Homicide is the sixth leading cause of death for American Indian and Alaska Native women under 44, with murder rates more than 10 times the national average. In 2024, 614 Indigenous women and girls were reported missing, 179 of them under 18. The resolution calls for a new study to keep statistics current and urges the nation to commemorate and stand in solidarity with affected families.
That covers the full slate of legislation and resolutions we have on the docket today. Each of these measures touches on different aspects of American life: food security, national security, health, privacy, education, and recognition of service.
Listeners should keep an eye on a few key items in the coming weeks. The Agriculture Appropriations Bill will move through the Senate and could be subject to amendments. The Farm Food and National Security Act is still pending in the House and could see significant debate, especially around SNAP reforms. The constitutional amendment proposals will need to clear the Senate and then embark on the state ratification process. A long road, but one to watch. And YOTA, if it clears the Senate, could reshape data privacy law across the country.
That's all for this episode of Capital Catch-Up. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back with more updates as Congress moves forward. Thanks for listening.